Hey, YouTube. Meh.
Fingertips, fingertips, fingertips.
Okay. Duh.
Aren't you the guy who hit me in the eye? Aren't you the guy who hit me in the eye?
You know, I might have to if you interrupt me.
Please pass the milk, please. Please pass the milk, please. Please pass the milk.
Okay, yeah. That last one I have no fucking clue, but... Okay, now, I'm pretty sure all trolls are out of the room. I can actually get to telling you guys this fucking video. Which, before I get to that, I might as well give you guys the intro. Hey, YouTube, pigandmeh here. I recently, finally, got to go to a local of mine, after kind of being informed, you know, upon me waking up that I was going. As I, you know, got in the shower, hopped up, made myself look, oh, so sexy for that very special card game crowd out there. You know what I'm talking about. Especially you value enthusiasts. I decided that upon getting there, that I had no fucking clue what the hell I was going to do. So I decided to run a deck that I legitimately expected to do completely awful with. And to my surprise, I actually did rather good. And what's that deck in question? Well, let me give you a picture.
Hello, ladies.
Oh yeah, babe. You as turned on as I am. Well, you should be. Because in this deck profile, I'm going to show you the manliest of all manly troll decks. But yeah, in all seriousness, I decided to run OJAMAs. Why? Because I obviously don't care. It's the beginning of the format. Like hell that I know that everybody was going to be playing heroes. And I decided to play something I expected to lose with ridiculously. And you know what happened? I didn't. So, why don't I quit blabbering and actually show you guys the deck. Right now, people, start this up. You run 2 copies of each OJAMA. Why 2? Well, you need to justify running double OJA magic. Also, you want to be able to get to them somewhat consistently, but you never want to draw them. But you have to have them. It's kind of the point of an OJAMA deck. It's kind of a double-edged sword, and the best way to maximize my ability to get to them without them being dead or making any other card dead was to run the bare minimum copies I could whilst being able to get my stuff off and having an incredibly low monster count in comparison. So, the main core of it, you run your 6 vanillas, because you kind of need them to pull off all the fun plays. And just kind of, you know, the meat of the matter. But the main OJAMA and the workhorse of the deck all day is this guy right here. 3 copies of OJAMA Blue. If you don't know what OJAMA Blue is, whenever he's destroyed by battle, you can add any 2 OJAMA cards from your deck to your hand. That is incredibly important to know that he is what will be doing the vast majority of the work in this deck. And he is important because he searches out all the power cards you need to be able to maximize the use of these guys. So, you run 3 of him. To kind of round out the OJAMA lineup, you run 2 OJAMA Red. OJAMA Red has the ability that when you normal summon him, you can special summon up to 4 OJAMA cards. Namely, your very fancy vanillas. I only run 2 because, as awesome as it is to pull them off, Effect Mailer is a prevalent card, and, you know, I didn't want to have to QQ every time. And also I didn't want the potential of him being dead, because I only run 2 sets of the normals, which is kind of what he mostly pluses off of. Next I ran 2 Torga and 1 Sangan. versatility in cards. The ability to dig for a Sangan, even though most of the time I would just go Tour Guide, install all day with Zen mains, was pretty nice. And Sangan here, of course, gives you the ability to get blue directly from your deck. I figured good cards might make this work, and I was right. Last monster I run, one Tecton Gen X Ally Birdman. He has some fun, interesting combo plays, and he lets you synchro, but overall, he kind of didn't really do jack diddly shit, other than maybe give me another Exceed option to go with, you know, Tour Guide and Sangan and whatnot, but it's not a terrible card. Also, if you opponent Valor's your red, you can bounce back to your hand. That means everything, but I don't know. I just saw him in somebody else's build and I decided to give it a shot. Not terrible, but far from great. There's a monster lineup, and now onto the spells. Don't even know why I'm recording this parts, but fuck it. Start this out. Your main, you know, method of winning. 3 copies of OJAMA Country. What this is, it's a field spell card that has the effect that once per turn you can discard 1 OJAMA card to special summon 1 OJAMA monster from your graveyard. And also when you control a face-up OJAMA monster, all the monsters on the field's attack and defense is switched. Why is that great? Well, because the main OJAMA card you're going to ditch is one of your 2 copies of this card right here, OJAMA Magic. This card is the fucking shit, people. You can search it out with blue, along with the field card, and it has the effect that when it's sent from the field or your hand to the graveyard, you can add 1 copy of OJAMA Green, OJAMA Yellow, and OJAMA Black from your deck to your hand. This is why you only run 2 sets of OJAMAs, because you only run 2 OJAMA Magics. The only problem with OJAMA Magic, though, is if you draw pretty much 2 of any of these cards, OJAMA Magic is dead as fuck. Which, the idea being that since you run enough cards to dig for blue, hopefully you should be able to get to these too before you get to your vanillas. But this is the main workhorse of the deck, and this is what we'll be doing all of your jobs, and it's important as fuck to get to them. And the last OJAMA card I run, just for shits and giggles, because I want to be able to pull it off, and I was able to multiple times today, is this card right here. OJAMA Delta Hurricane! It is required that anytime you pull this off, you have to yell it. Because, yeah, everyone needs to know that you successfully pulled off OJAMA Delta Hurricane. Which has the effect that when you control these guys, all 3 of these guys face up on your side of the field, you can destroy every single card on your opponent's field. Which is epic shit when it happens. And it somehow did. Next, I run 1 Tecton Trirate. I'm gonna have to explain a lot of these cards. Basically what this is a monster reborn times 3 for any level 2 or lower normal type monster in your graveyard. Namely, the fact that you can special summon each one of your OJAMAs, not restricted to having to be one particular one. It's quite badass. Because in a pinch, it either sets up for an Exceed play, or lets you actually pull this card off. I just run the 1 of though because I don't ever want it to be dead, and I only run 2 sets of normals, which you'd be amazed. Next, 2 copies of Creature Swap. This card is immensely broken when used in the right decks. And in this deck's case, it works out oh so beautifully when I'm giving you fuckers this guy and plussing off of you all day. It's pretty simple logic. Yu-Gi-Oh! 101. Steal their bigger monster so you can drop your little guys. Next, you're in 1 Pot of Avarice, 2 Duality. The Avarice helps in trying to make your OJAMA Magic live if you have a dead one. But you have enough OJAMAs in your graveyard, you can shuffle a playset along with any 2 extra cards you need. And the dualities are to dig for blue, which is pretty much your main workhorse of the whole deck. And also you run 1 Monster Reborn and 1 Dark Hole. Next for the traps, I kind of went by the logic of if you run good cards in a bad deck, it supposedly works, and somehow it actually did. First good cards I ran were 3 copies of Fiendish Chain. Why? Because as you could tell, I didn't main deck Effect Mailer. I kind of figured since Insectors are kind of on the back burner of everyone's collective memory, that'd be a good idea to run a host of defensive traps, like including double compulsive evacuation device, double dimensional prison, double torrential, and then one copy of Solemn Judgment, which is excluding the compulses. This is fairly standard for every single deck you're going to see that actually runs a trap lineup. And Compulse is just amazing because people will wall behind a boatload of cards. So I kind of figured it would be probably one of the better techie options to run. And the main tech I ran, one copy of The Huge Revolution is Over. There's not a super amazing amount of field clearers in the game right now. And because you run so many back rows in cards that you kind of don't want them to be wiping, it's nice to have an option other than Solemn for the off chance they heavy you. Also, it works in a sense that if they try to, you go full field of OJAMAs. In the next turn they try to Dark Hole you, you have it out to that. So, it's kind of the same logic of why a lot of WAP players use multiple copies. But in this sense, I'm using it to protect my OJAMAs, which serve a completely different purpose. But I'll get to that come the next section, which is actually the extra deck. Okay, before I get to actually telling you what's in the extra deck, something to make note of is that when you're going to play this deck, you really have, at least if you want to play it well, you have to put into consideration that a lot of the theme-specific cards for it are incredibly difficult to pull off, largely situational, and, you know, ever so slightly finicky. So when trying to make the deck decent enough to a point where I didn't want to get face raped all day, I had to put into consideration cards that could create, you know, make these guys advantageous. You know. And that's when kind of these two cards have function along with OJAMA Blue. And that he's a natural floater because he, you know, nets you multiple cards to your hand via destruction. The vanilla heroes are important because they're all level 2, which gives you access to the only card in your extra deck that legitimately matters very easily, which is this guy right here, Gachi Gachi Gantetsu. Pretty much, he's the only real thing you will ever bring out in this deck. Yes, I will show you some other cards, but for the most part, that's all you ever do. Why? Because red here enables the ability to massively fill your field with a myriad of level 2 monsters. And also so does the field card in question, because when you're ditching an OJAMA card to get your blue, then you get your red, then you get these guys off, and if you're lucky, followed by an OJAMA Delta Hurricane, you can most often pump out a myriad of rank 2 exceeds. More often or not, the exact play is this. And since this card switches the attack and defense of all monsters on the field, your gachis can serve a purpose of being a more frontwardly aggressive card. You do, however, have to worry very ever so often about the MST to your field card, which is just a risk of playing a deck like this. And Tri-Right Zone can pretty much set up for, you know, a gachi play, or even a number 96 Dark Mist if you own one, which I sadly do not. But to any people aspiring to play this deck, you need to make note that whilst the fusions are very nice and the idea of controlling is very good, you can't really control via those cards at all. And upon playing it, the main focus you'll realize is rapidly dropping rank 2 exceeds, which of course the important one that matters is Gachi Gachi Gantetsu, which I run 3 because I can't run, 15. So to compensate for that, I threw in these two guys, which I would run a number 96 Dark Mist if I owned one, but I don't. So I kind of run a Shining Elf, and then my personal favorite, that Gusto Phoenix. Greatest fucking card ever. Just to kind of fulfill your rank 2 requirements, which you will hardly ever access your extra deck. Pretty much the only other thing you'll ever get is rank 3s. For the most part, you just run what you get. This is my go-to lineup, rank 3s. There's a couple other ones out, but since you only run 4 monsters, mainly the fact that most of these are relevant because all you're ever going to do is use Tour Guide to wall for Zen mains. That's pretty much the point. Although, I did, however, drop him at least once in the day, and Leviathan. But since there was a boatload of hero players, all 3 of these were a problem because Super Poly exists. For synchros, you mostly want to run at least 2 decent level 5s. I never synchroed once, really. And these 2 are probably the best level 5s you can run. Although, there was one, I actually played a Fortune hero, so he would have been really nice if I could have dropped him at the advantageous time. I don't think I actually ran Gaia Knight, I don't remember, but it's good to have at least one level 6 for the off chance that you can make it. Since you run a Gen X tuner, and all your monsters are light, more specifically OJAMA Blue, this guy's built-in light effect is quite nice to be able to pull off. That's why I threw him in here, just for the off chance that I can pull that off. For rank 8, just play the one random Scrap Dragon. Your extra deck legitimately isn't important beyond all you actually have to run is just Gotchi, and then maybe a couple alternate level monsters, or ranks, that are just accustomed to fit the tour guides and whatnot in your deck. But, yeah. That was my main extra... Yeah, that was my main and extra deck for OJAMAs. And with all that, we reached the very end of this ever so trolacious deck profile. I will, before I leave, make note that it sometimes is a good idea, every so often in your local, to play a deck a little out of the ordinary, even if the cards are as funky as these little fucks. And sometimes when you do, you realize that there's a lot of really interesting reactions you can get out of people, like how many people I got saying, fuck this deck. So, if you ever are out there, and you kind of want to troll the shit out of your local, give it a shot. It's actually a legitimately solid build. I would highly advise anyone looking to play this deck give it a shot. And, of course, you're also free to do your own little thing and tell me down below how it works for you. But yeah, this is pigandmeh. Remember to like, favorite, comment, tell me what you think. Also, go check out my contest, in which the more subscribers I get, the better, and the more entries I get, even better. But yeah, this is pigandmeh, signing out.